Hello, Internet. My name is Sir Lord, and today we're finishing up our trilogy of triangle strategy talks. So, we already covered freedom and morality. Today, we're going to try and cover utility. So, utility, as seen by the game, is going to be function over everything else. How useful is an asset to you comparatively to the other two pillars, alright? So, in the game itself, it is putting the needs of quantity over everything else. So, let's look at it in terms of a people. I was using this example yesterday. Uh, you have the many and then the minority. You would put the minority in the less favorable position to help as many people as possible. Now, that is definitely not the best way to go about any kind of leadership, I would think. You could obviously make comparisons or parallels to the early days of America with slavery, but it goes much farther than that. It's not exclusive to that time frame. You have the idea of any majority oppressing the minority to overtake or create a quote unquote better society for as many people as possible. And I don't think that's like the greatest way to look at it, and in my opinion, that path is the least useful of them all, or is like the least fleshed out correctly, which is strange because the other two are done quite well. Freedom, in my opinion, was done the best. It's the most complex issue brought up in the game, and I really adore it. Utility is definitely complex, and I might not be giving it as much credit as I should be because I haven't truly done a full utility playthrough. But that's because it just I'm not a person who can overcome the freedom or morality for utility. Like, if it was one or the other, maybe, but the complete surrender of both, which is more what I would say my alignment or what I would favor, is kind of tough. But I get that's kind of like the point of it. You have to give up your emotions, give up your morality, give up what kind of makes you human to amplify the greatest asset of being human, which is intelligence or resourcefulness as well. So another way to look at it would be as foregoing the moral cause to, or communism, I guess would be a good, weird communism would be a weird way to put it, where you are inflicting as much equality as possible, but unlike real world communism where everyone, or I guess not real world, hypothetical communism where everyone should be equal, it's shown to be impossible, so you have to do what real world communism usually equates to, which is going to be uh, everyone's needs are not met, but it is as close to equal as possible. I don't know if that's actually a good description, so take that last like comment and remark with lots of salt, like lots of it, because I don't quite think that made sense, but I kind of just shoot these on the fly, or not on the fly, but shoot these and go. There's no edits or anything like that, because this is just a thought process, or that's what I aim to do with this series in general. But yeah, for me it was the toughest path to really like get behind and do concrete uh, decisions for. There's certain things you do have to do, but it is a very weird and tough path because you have to do a lot of tough decisions. Like I can see where it probably makes more sense in Eastern uh, cultures as that is more of a prevalent mindset of for the good of many or for the good of the nation rather than the good of the few. Because in the West, it's very much about morality, honor. Like, I know everyone says chivalry is dead, but chivalry does play a part in our storytelling nowadays, like a huge part. But in the East, it's a little bit more nuanced and complex than that. There's very much the triangle, I would not doubt, is very much more in effect. Now, it's probably the flip side where freedom, I would not doubt, is one of the weaker pillars, and utility would be one of the higher pillars. And morality, for all intents and purposes, is based on the individual. You could say there's like an overarching morality for a what you would say government or culture, but that's like a very dicey topic, and it doesn't really apply in the sense of this game as it is using itself as a pillar. But morality is complicated. All of these issues are complicated, but I'm getting a little distracted. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt that in Eastern philosophies and cultures, it is a lot more reasonable of a choice to go through the morality route, which I believe this game was made in Japan, so that would make sense. But for it might also just be types of person too, actually, because I wouldn't doubt that there's people, and I'm not saying that the Westerners just won't get it. It's just overall culturally, I think it's just a harder concept to grasp, especially with all the equality movements going on nowadays. But that's a whole different topic. But it makes the utility and the idea of seeing things through in actuality kind of tough in our current day in society, because everyone wants to be the revolutionary. Everyone wants to change the world, but you have to think, and this is one thing the game does very well. You have to think, well, how do I do that? Okay, what are the steps it takes? What is required of me in order to change the world? So it's hard in movies, anime, TVs, shows, books, all that stuff. The protagonist usually has an edge of some form, whether it be fate, whether it be some crazy power, which given to them by fate, whether authorial intent, plot armor, like whatever you want to call it, they have something that makes them capable of doing these crazy feats, and it doesn't really force, not in all fiction, definitely not in all fiction, and it doesn't really force the protagonist to forego utility or forego morality and freedom in sake of utility. A lot of the time, they don't have to worry about that. Now, I would say the best fiction does account for that, and you do have to see the merit of resources. We'll go with One Piece, for instance, which is a show that is very much, very much in favor of freedom and morality, but it does not shirk away from the utility of allies, of resources, of friends. So it shows utility in a very different light than I would say Triangle Strategy does. So the utility is making friends, not making enemies with uh, every single group. Their morality and freedom leads them to having more and more allies, even within the enemy uh, like units that they are going up against. For instance, let's look at Enos Lobby as an example. They were enemies with the Frankie family, but due to the necessity of them working together, they come together and eventually become friends. It was not something that they might have wanted to do because the Frankie family was kind of really tough to them, but they they gave away their grudges in order for the greater utility of having an actual attempt at saving their friends. Or you could look at later on when they actually get to Enos Lobby with the giants. They were able to get the Giants on their side. They're constantly picking up assets and resources to help them overcome these ludicrous odds of fighting the world government that has seemingly endless resources. And then you have in the Whitebeard War, for instance, the primary character. Yes, you would say Luffy, but honestly, I would say it's Whitebeard. Whitebeard is full on the main character of the Whitebeard War. Like he has so much screen time. He is getting fleshed out. Oda takes the time to really show us what this man has gone through, and he shows his resourcefulness. He's not just going like gung ho straight into save Ace. No, he's taking his time. He has a strategy. He's trying to think of ways to outmaneuver and outplay the Marines in getting to Ace. Now, is it all effective? No, but that's just kind of the idea of battle in general, right? So they very much have utility baked in. Now, it's not necessarily in this triangle that triangle strategy has, and I think that's the one weakness utility has in triangle strategy is for all of these actually. These things aren't mutually exclusive. At least that's what the game would have you believe until you do the true ending, where you do have to account for everything. You are unable to do the optimal or best ending for everyone if you do not consider every piece of information. Like if you are not being are keeping your own autonomy, you're unable to do the true ending. If you are unable to think of the needs of the people and be a moral and just king, you are unable to do the true ending. And then if you are unwilling to make sacrifices just to help out your kingdom, you are unable to do the true ending. And I think that's the beauty. I know I was kind of ragging on it earlier, but I think I've kind of talked myself more into utility through this discussion. But I believe that's like the beauty of the game. It shows the sides, or all three sides, and says, hey, you cannot forego any of these in order to rule prosperously and with everyone being happy. You have to take into account everything, which isn't easy. It is certainly not easy. You have to make tough decision after tough decision, and this is just in life. In the game, yeah, it's tough. But you have to make all these tough decisions in order to go about your way, your path. But that's all I wanted to talk about. That's ending the trilogy of triangle strategy. Next time, I believe I'm going to want to talk about gaming history and the changes that have gone through, or that games have come through, because that's going to be an interesting topic. But that's going to be it for today. My name's been Sir Lord, and let's talk later. See ya.